Welcome to the first video in our BACCH Basics series, where we'll show you how to connect BACCH dSP to your current speaker setup. First, let's connect our hardware. We want our speakers ideally set up at a half-span angle of approximately 30 degrees. This creates an equilateral triangle between the speakers and the listener. However, you can place your speakers at any angle and still create a BACCH filter for them. The easiest speakers to use with your BACCH setup are powered speakers like these vocals that I have here. To connect your speakers, you can use the analog or optical output on the Babyface. As mine take XLR, I'm just using the analog. For the sake of this video, we're focusing on setup with the Babyface, because if you're using the analog or optical output on the Babyface, you can auto-configure within BACCH dSP, meaning with the click of a button, you can be fully set up and ready to go. If you prefer to use a different interface or an external DAC, we'll show you how in a separate video to best set that up. But for those of you using the Babyface, let's go ahead and plug it in. If you haven't installed your RME driver software, please do so now by using the link in the description, or by simply searching for it online. Once the driver software is installed and you plug in your Babyface, the app's Total Mix and Fireface USB settings will open up automatically. Next up, we need to load our workspace into Total Mix. To do this, you navigate from the top menu bar, click File, then Load Workspace. Within this, you want to navigate to your root library, which will be found on your hard disk. So click Macintosh HD or whatever your hard disk might be named, and then click on Library. In the library, you'll find the Application Support folder. Within that, BACCH dSP. Again, if this isn't here, then you went to your user library rather than the system library. So back up and go to your Macintosh HD and click Library from there. Now within BACCH dSP, scroll all the way down to USB interface settings for BACCH dSP and select BACCH for Mac TM Workspace.tmws. Now we're actually all set with Total Mix. If you notice these snapshots on the right hand side, these are actually activated by scripts within BACCH. So anything that we'd need to do within Total Mix, BACCH does for us. So let's quit out. Next up, let's open up BACCH. If it's your first time opening BACCH dSP, or you've recently updated to a new version, it may take a few minutes to initialize. Don't worry, this is completely normal. Once BACCH opens up, we can show advanced settings. And because we've hooked everything up through the Babyface, we can auto-configure for analog out or optical out, or however we've actually hooked up our speakers. Now what auto-configure does is it actually runs a script through Total Mix and BACCH to ensure that all of our inputs, outputs, loopback, everything's set up good to go. Once this syncs, your input and output should both be the Babyface Pro, and your loopback, input, and output channels should look like mine here. Next, select your preferred sampling rate. I usually stick to 96 kHz as that's what we make BACCH filters in professionally, but if you use 44.1 or 48 for your workflow or streaming services, then feel free to choose those instead. Additionally, once you've configured BACCH dSP and selected your sampling rate, BACCH remembers all of this, so the next time you open, everything should be the same. I do want to mention if you ever have any sampling rate syncing issues or you need to see your channel configurations, you can open up Audio MIDI Setup and see all of this from there. The reason that we use the Babyface is that its loopback function allows us to capture all of the computer's audio and run it through a BACCH filter. So, any audio from streaming services, the internet, this video, your other software, etc. will run through BACCH. Otherwise, only audio that you load into BACCH's file player would be filtered into proper 3D, and the rest of your computer's audio would remain in plain stereo. And that's about it for setting up BACCH dSP. Now you're ready to make your first BACCH filter, and if you're wondering, how do I do that? You should probably watch the next video. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment them below. I'll do my best to get back to them. And happy listening.